for joining me. This is the Spiritual Princess, and I wanted to talk about free will. And I know I've done some videos prior to this one regarding what's a spirit guide, how you connect with them. So I kind of wanted to talk about just we have free will, and also it's going to depend on how easy you connect with spirit, whether it's an angel, loved one, guide, if it's something that you want to try. But it really depends on your spiritual beliefs. So if you're somebody who has a strong belief or a strong base in faith, any religion, whatever, but if you have a belief that there's God, angels, heaven, or what I call the other side, you're going to have an easier time with it. If you're somebody who's skeptical, or you have no belief at all in heaven, maybe you're an atheist, you're going to have a very tough time. But mostly people who don't have a belief in God or heaven or anything aren't generally going to be interested in trying that anyway. But I want to talk about a little bit about free will, because suppose something terrible or upsetting happens in your life and you didn't get a warning from your spirit guides or angels ahead of time. And it's happened to me. In that case, my guides tell me that's because the event or circumstances were a life lesson, and the guides are not allowed to interfere with our life lessons, no matter how big or small. It doesn't mean you can't call on the angels for assistance when something happens, but it means the guides are not allowed to intervene because your soul has asked to learn something from the experience. So this is another example. I talked in previous videos about my aunt dying of lung cancer. So when my aunt knew she had stage 4 lung cancer, she knows I'm a medium. She asked me straight to my face if she was going to be okay, and she put my hand right on her chest. So I mentally asked my guide what I needed to tell her. And I remember hearing them say, "She'll be fine." So of course that's what I blurted out. And her doctors were ready to put her on chemo, and of course they were acting positive even though she was in the final stage of cancer. So, after she died a few weeks later, I was devastated because my guide told me she would be fine. So I was angry with them, and I wanted to know why they lied. Well, they told me she is all right. She's fine because she's on the other side with others who miss and love her. So again, the guides theoretically did not lie to me, but they did not tell me that we didn't have much time left with her. So looking back, I did not ask the specific question of how much time my aunt had left, and I should have. But my guides explained that sometimes we have lessons they cannot get in the middle of. So it might seem like they're not helping, but they cannot alter any of our lessons. And death of a loved one is considered a lesson. Okay, so I'll read a couple questions and then what my guide answered. The first question is, the topic of free will has a gap for me. If we are all granted free will, yet believe in a higher power taking care of us, watching over us, guiding us, how does this encompass free will? So my guide said, this is where man has complicated things by teaching many ways of believing. You have the freedom to choose who you are and what you believe. Every choice you make is for you. There is no higher power making choices on your behalf. And if you are suffering or in distress, it is usually because you, as a soul, have asked to learn something from that. As guides, we will try to assist when you have a tough life lesson, but it is still up to you if you are open to our guidance or take the advice. Okay, question number 2. I have dreamed about a family member passing away before it happens, which has happened to me several times. I don't say anything until afterward, and I feel terrible. So my guides say, If you're physically picking up on a death in the family, it's because you are someone who understands death and won't get real upset over it. These premonitions are so you can help others deal with the loss by being more prepared. And sometimes when you mention it to their loved ones ahead of time, maybe that person will have time to go back and have an enduring conversation or make peace with the person who is getting ready to leave. And sometimes those dreams are a gift. When you dream of somebody that might be leaving, you should never feel that you are responsible for their death in any way. And if for some reason this is too painful for you to see it ahead of time, that's when you tell your guides and angels and loved ones even not to let you see those events. The other side generally allows you to see these events because you are strong enough to handle it. But you still have the choice to tell them to stop. If the death is someone very close to you, you won't usually know ahead of time because it would alter the lesson in the loss. Okay, so here's another question. My mom has Alzheimer's and is in the last stage. Will she remember what's going on, remember me and my siblings when her soul passes on? My guide said, when someone is suffering a terrible illness, they will know everything they went through and everything their loved ones went through to help them complete it when they pass. Most of the time, someone may have written the illness into their life in order to teach others around them, but sometimes they don't. And their loved ones still must learn how to treat someone suffering such an upsetting illness like Alzheimer's. You can pray for them to return home, to no longer be in pain or suffering. Their soul knows when it's time for them to go. Some people get very upset when their loved ones pass on and are not there, like physically, but please understand the soul feels this is a personal time for them to leave. So it's really up to them if you are there to witness their passing or not. If you're not there, just understand that they did not want you to experience their death in that way, but they love you and know your thoughts and how much you loved and cared for them. Okay, so here's a final question. Does grieving over a lost loved one keep their soul earthbound? My guide says no, it doesn't keep them on earth, but it can hinder their happiness on the other side because they feel your emotion and they will want to help you in any way they can. So you are able to let them go. That usually happens when a person does not have a strong base of faith or does not have any spiritual beliefs, like I had mentioned earlier. If they believe you no longer exist when you die, they will have the hardest struggle when they lose a loved one. People who believe in God, heaven, or the other side, they seem to have an easier time with death and know their loved ones are at peace and happy. So I hope that helped everybody understand a little bit about that. And again, I'm trying to do some really good videos. I teach psychic development, so these are the type of things that I teach in a class. So hopefully, if you're interested, this is helpful. And I hope everybody has a great day. Love and light.